Good morning. How are you guys? Tired. Good. Yeah? You want to go to bed? Me too. Okay. All right. You got the behavior police here this morning. Okay. So what did we learn yesterday? You can't remember. How about you? So Mary went to visit. Who did Mary go to visit?
Elizabeth.
Can someone raise their hand and tell me who Mary went to? Who'd Mary go to visit? Her cousin Elizabeth. That's right. And Elizabeth was pregnant too, right? With who? John the Baptist. That's right. Okay. And so Mary went to visit her cousin Elizabeth with Jesus and John the Baptist. Okay. And did we just talk about the visitation, or did we also talk about the Assumption? Just the visitation, okay. And what are we going to talk about today? The Nativity, okay. Also known as Christmas, right? When Jesus is born, right? So we call the Nativity, when Jesus is born, we call that the Incarnation. Does anybody know what incarnation means? No? Okay, so incarnation means when... Yeah, to become a person. It's when God became flesh, right? Does anybody speak Spanish? How do you say meat in Spanish? Carne, right? Yeah, so Jesus took on flesh, right? He became like us in the incarnation, right? That means at one point in his life, Jesus was just like you. He was this tall. How old are you? This many? Jesus was that many one time. Do you believe that? Yeah, you do? Okay, good. Jesus was born to Mary and Joseph, and he was a baby, and then he was a little boy, and then he was a teenager. I wonder what teenage Jesus was like. He didn't sin, right? But then, we go to the finding of Jesus in the temple where Mary and Joseph are journeying from Jerusalem, and then they come back, and there he is, and he kind of still sasses them, doesn't he? Right? It's like, well, you should have known I was in my Father's house. So Jesus took on flesh. He became like us. Just like us, just like you. God himself came down from heaven to be like us. Right? In the gospel we heard he calls his apostles, right, the 12. He calls just normal, everyday people, right? He calls fishermen. He calls tax collectors. He calls just regular old people. And he says, I want you to follow me. I want you to follow me. Right? And Jesus calls out to each and every one of us. Right? This week, you guys have this special opportunity where you get to be here at church every day, where you get to learn about the Bible, where you get to learn more about the love that Jesus has for you. Right? Right, Lucy? Yeah? You get to learn about the love that Jesus has for you and that he calls you in a special way. What does he call you to? I told you on Monday. Natalie, what does he call you to? Well, that was yesterday. He might call some of you to be a nun or a priest, but what does he call all of us to? To be saints, right? To be, another word, holy. He calls us all to be holy. He comes to all of us no matter who we are. Whether we're a fisherman, does anybody here like to fish? Yeah. He calls us whether we're a fisherman, whether we're a little boy or a little girl. He calls us whether we're old. He calls us whether we don't like to fish. He calls all of us to be holy, to follow him, to love him. Does everybody here love Jesus? I think there need to be more hands. What about all you old people? What are you doing here? Why do you come to Mass every day if you don't love Jesus? Right, we love Jesus because he loves us. He loves us so much that he became like us. But he loves us even more than that he didn't want to just leave us as we are. He wanted to transform us, to sanctify us, to make us holy, so that we can be like him. So that one day we'll be together with him in heaven. That's exciting, isn't it, Claire? Yeah. That one day we'll be with Jesus in heaven. That one day we'll be like him because we'll be united to him. That's exciting. That's very exciting. Whether we're a little guy or a big guy, a young guy or an old guy, that's exciting. That we're going to be made to be like Jesus. And he transforms us now, right? That's what being made holy is. He's transforming us. He's changing us. He's giving us grace, especially at Mass and through the sacraments, so that we can be made holy, so that we can be made more and more like him. And so, as we continue with our vacation Bible school for these next couple of days, and as we continue in this Mass, let us ask Jesus that he would continue to transform us, that he would continue to make us holy, that he would continue to show us the way to the Father, and that he would continue to help us to hear his voice as he calls us to follow after him in holiness.